January 1997, all four wrote to international conventions. Chief Johnson Adegbite was elected chairman of the Committee of Registrar in 1983. Baba J.G.O was appointed Justice of the Peace in 1986, a member of Nigerian University Commission, member of the Nigerian Committee of West Africa Examination Council, WAEC, 1982 to 1994, member of the Nigerian Examination Committee of the WAEC, 1991 to 1994, member of the Nigerian Tenders Board of the WAEC, 1991 to 1998, and 1991 to 1994. Dr. Johnson Adegbite has also been a member of the following preliminary bodies:
I think the Vice Chancellor is having network issue. I could see him talking as continuously, but we can't hear his voice. The Vice Chancellor, if you are hearing me, we can't hear you again. Hello, Mr. Vice Chancellor.
hello.
Hello. Now,
Can you hear me now?
yes, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. You know, we had a network issue here.
Yes, it's a Nigerian problem.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
Mm.
Okay, we are back.
Can you please continue, sir?
Okay. Okay, please let me continue. So, like I was saying, Baba Adegbite was a member of the Federal Character Commission, Abuja, representing Ondo and Ekiti States on the commission from December 1995 to April 2001. Baba has published several articles and delivered seminar papers and public lectures on university administration and management. To crown his public service career, and as a mark of recognition, Chief Adegbite was honored with a Doctor of Letters by the University of ADO-EKITI, and that was on 28th March 2003, during the university's 12th convocation ceremony. Chief Adegbite was honored in 2007 by the Institute of Public Administration of Nigeria with the Fellowship Award, LPA, of the Institute. As Senator of today, served on the presidential visitor panel to the Federal Polytechnic Nasarawa in between August and September 2004, on the invitation of the Federal Ministry of Education and the Nigerian Universities Commission. Dr. George Adegbite was appointed by the governor of the state to serve as the chairman of a 15-man task force to vision panel on the education sector in the state, held in January 2011. The panel submitted a report and recommendations in March 2011. Baba Adegbite was also invited by the governor of the state to provide technical assistance to the planning committee for the state summit in 2011, which took place between 14th and 15 May 2011 in ADO-EKITI. Dr. J.G.O. Adegbite holds the chieftain titles of the Ataichi of ADEGBITE, the Atoye of Ekiti, and the Elementary of ADO-EKITI, among others. Chief Adegbite is a member by invitation of the newly established Igbomo, Ure-Ekiti, with membership cutting across the length and breadth of Ekiti land. A devoted Christian and family man, Dr. Adegbite is happily married to Chief Mrs. Adekemi Adegbite And the marriage is blessed with 4 successful children, 1 daughter and 3 sons, and many promising grandchildren. Baba's hobbies include playing table tennis, ayolokmo, and billiards, and listening to music. The hallmark of a great man is not measured in the number of castles he built, but the number of lives he touched and molded. Quote, the quality, not the longevity, of one's life is what is important, unquote. Courtesy, Martin Luther King Jr. Whether in the academics where you dedicated your life with proven record of excellence, or in humanitarian, to which you have committed your resources through the Rotary Club International, Baba, yours has been a life of total dedication to the service of God and mankind. Baba, you are a leading light of your generation, and indeed one of my great mentors and benefactors. I celebrate you today as always, and thank God for your life, especially for how far He has taken and used you to impart positivity on humanity. May I, at this junction, ask every participant to join me in honoring a teacher of teachers, a leader of leaders, Chief Dr. George Oladeji ADEGBITE, by joining me in singing this song. Boys are jolly good fellows. Boys are jolly good fellows. Boys are jolly good fellows. All of us. So says all of us.
Hooray!
So says all of us.
Hooray!
Boys are jolly fellows. Boys are jolly fellows. Boys are jolly fellows. Praise all of us. I want to thank all of us for your rapt attention. And I invite all of us here to please be patient. The program. God bless you all. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chancellor. I don't know if the Vice Chancellor, if it was a record, how many people will buy, but I'm under obligation to buy. I'm not I'm not in a position to say the voice of the Vice Chancellor is a crocky. So I think I will buy, and I know people here will have to buy. Want to thank you for finishing in that beautiful song. Well, we have gotten to the point of the workshop, and but before we continue, I'd like to recognize the presence of Dr. Femi Kayode, former Registrar, Taishodarin University of Education. I'd like to recognize Professor Kunle Adegun, former Vice Chancellor, Ekiti State University. Professor Femi Olaofe, former Deputy Vice Chancellor, Ekiti State University. I can see my friend, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic of Federal University Oye-Ekiti, Professor Abayomi Sunday Fashina. As I see other people here, I will recognize your presence. Once again, I want to thank all of you for joining us. Well, we're going into the heart of matter now. I'd like to invite somebody who used to be my subordinate, but is now a big man. He's now a registrar of a university. There is no small registrar anywhere. Especially if one is registrar of a university owned by our Redeemer, the Lord Jesus Christ. I'd like to invite Mr. Olukayode Iman Akindele, Registrar, Redeemer University, to introduce our first speaker. Mr. Akindele, over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. The chairman of this occasion, Vice Chancellor of State University, Professor ADO-EKITI, the celebrant of today, and all distinguished participants. I'm privileged to present to you Mrs. Olubunmi O. Faluyi. Mrs. Olubunmi Omobolanle Faluyi is the 12th and 3rd female alumni registrar of the University of Ibadan. She is from Emure, Ekiti State. Born on 15th April 1966 in the ancient city of Ibadan, Oyo State. She has a bachelor's degree and graduated with a second-class honors upper division in adult education in 1986 and a master's degree in industrial education in 1988 from the same university. A seasoned advisor in university, Mrs. Faluyi started her administrative career at the University of Ibadan in September 1997 as administrative officer. She rose through the ranks and was appointed deputy registrar and secretary to the College of Medicine in 2011, a position she occupied until she was appointed registrar of the university in 2018. His astute chief administrative officer has exhibited drive, intellect, zeal, high level of confidence and professionalism, sound knowledge and understanding of rules and regulations, and the values of the University of Ibadan. In particular, and best management practices in general. She is a vanguard of quality assurance and excellent governance, which she has adopted a robust, all-inclusive and efficient administrative structure for accountability and quality service delivery in the registry. This registrar has served the university in various capacities with considerable credit. As an experienced administrator in the tertiary education system, Mrs. Faluyi has demonstrated the core skills required for effective superintending of the registry in every assigned responsibility. As the longest serving admissions officer, undergraduate in the history of the University of Ibadan to date, from July 2002 to April 2008, she brought into the position a level of transparency, strict adherence to rules and regulations. Her tenure as an admission officer witnessed several transformations in the university admission process. Her active pivotal role in the implementation of post-UTME UI model contributed to the sustainability of the model to date. In maintaining the noble tradition of the University of Ibadan anchored on upholding a sound value system, she compiled a manual of procedure for the appointment of principal officers, deans, and heads of departments in the university to serve as a guide for upcoming administrators. In repositioning the registry, she introduced talent management programs in the belief that a systematic approach to nurturing future leaders within the system will give an advantage to the University of Ibadan when compared to other rival institutions. Mrs. Faluyi is a member, Association of University Administrators, AUA, United Kingdom. Also a member, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM. Member, Association of Registrars of Nigerian University, ANU. Fellow, Institute of Corporate Administration of Nigeria. Fellow, International Professional Managers Association. Member, Alumni Association, Galilee International Management Institute, Israel, and member, Association of Nigeria, Universities Professional Administrators, ANUPA. In the course of her career, She had attended and presented papers in many conferences, workshops, and public lectures, locally and internationally. She is a recipient of several honors, distinctions, and commendations. She was a federal government education scholar for her master's degree program in 1987, as well as the first female administrator recipient of the MacArthur Foundation Grant 2005, among others. She is an exemplary leader who is passionate about mentoring, youth empowerment, and is deeply involved in community service. She is a regular guest speaker at secondary schools youth fora. Mrs. Olubunmi Omobolanle Faluyi is an epitome of good qualities. She is courteous, diligent, firm, humane, and above all, humble. A devoted Christian who actively serves at the Redeemed Christian Church of God. Mrs. Faluyi is blessed with beautiful children. It is a rare privilege and honor to invite Mrs. Olubunmi Omobolanle Faluyi to address this unique gathering. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The chairman of today's occasion and Vice Chancellor, Ekiti State University, Professor Edward Olanipekun. All protocols duly observed. I want to join every other person to congratulate the celebrant of today, our Baba, Chief ADEGBITE, who in no doubt is an accomplished person. Agbayin Adale o, Orúkọ Jésù. We wish you many more years in this planet. I must also thank the organizers of this program for giving me this great privilege and honor to address this gathering. Having said that, the outline of my presentation includes an introduction. What do we understand by COVID-19 pandemic? The impacts of COVID-19 generally, and of course on the effect on education, and the public health approach to COVID-19 and the COVID-19 era. And then we'll look at the university registry. What does it stand for? And then we go to the pandemic shock. What are the resultant effects of COVID-19 on the registry? And then the winning strategies for the registry, and then conclusion. Pandemic as a large-scale outbreak of infectious diseases, increased morbidity and mortality over a wide geographic area and caused significant economic, social, and political disruption. We are confronted with unprecedented change. Things that have never happened before are beginning to happen now. And the COVID-19 pandemic is defining global health crisis, and it has been defined as the greatest challenge faced by the entire world since World War II. And since the emergence in China last year, it has spread all over the globe except at the Antarctica. And as COVID-19 is affecting workplaces around the world, employers and employees need to accept the reality and adjust to this new situation. And of course, we need to develop a strategy to ensure safety in the workforce as well as the workplace and maintain productivity level. As the shock of the unprecedented event strike nations, families, and workplace, of course, daily routines suddenly seem insignificant in comparison. And in few months, the coronavirus pandemic has upset the daily lives of people around the world. Like somebody will say that our world was reset. The world is in an uncharted territory. Many people, we cannot even recognize some communities. For example, when the pandemic started, Lagos State was like a ghost land. Even the campus of the University of Ibadan, for almost 3 weeks, even principal officers were not seeing each other, we were only communicating online. And Every day people were losing jobs, just like the Vice President Osinbajo said in one of the summits, that many as much as 40 million jobs might be lost in Nigerian economy because of the COVID-19. And coming to the effect of COVID-19 on education, it has brought unprecedented educational disruption, with 1.6 billion students and youths across the planet affected by school closure, according to UNICEF. And academic care has been disrupted and interrupted. Schools and institutions had to be locked down to curtail the spread of the virus. What we are saying is that COVID-19 has become a change driver in the university system. The monopoly is broken now. There are new ways of teaching, new ways of learning, new ways of doing things. Our activities, we have to learn new ways to do them. And of course, there is the public approach to it, which has created serious challenges. Changing culture, we now have to wear face cover to guide ourselves. Provision of water and other safety kits are important now. And the individual resources, how do we go about it? Of course, creating more office space to address the social distancing of 1 to 2 meters. And this brought about a lot of rethinking. And for the COVID-19 era, there cannot be a return to the pre-COVID organization or institutional practices. Are we going to go back after this COVID? Are we going to go back to how we used to do things? Of course, no. Many people are saying this pandemic will become endemic and it will stay with us. But more likely, a decade of the new normal, a new era that is defined by fast changing shifts in organizational culture, societal values, and behaviors. Organizational structure and culture in terms that the way we conduct our activities, the way we do our work, will begin to change. There is going to be a paradigm. And then, what then is the role, the changing role of the university registry in all of this? How does the precarious situation affect the registry? We are aware that there are 2 types of universities, the academic university and the administrative university. Yes, the academic university includes the students, the lecturers, or the researchers, or they can afford to lock down. They can afford to go on total strike. But can the administrative university, where the registry of any university belongs, can we afford to lock down totally? Can we afford to go on strike totally? Of course not. And it is because the registry is the nerve center of the university. If you look at the cone, the registry anchors the university administration. You can see the vice chancellor is the center point. And then because the universities are run on committee system, the committees wrap up the cone of all the activities. But the registry, if you look at it's the anchor. Every other thing rests on the registry. And that is why the registry must have a think at this time. And COVID-19 pandemic has therefore revealed the many weaknesses in the Nigerian university system to us. The pandemic shock to the registry has opened our eyes to a lot of things. When it happened, the first thing was anxiety and fear. Once you hear that somebody has tested positive, the next thing is, oh, that is on the corner. This person is going to die. There was anxiety, there was fear. Everything initially was at a comatose. Nothing was working, everybody locked down. And that month of April, we lost. We didn't know what would be the next thing to do. There was uncertainty. A lot of people even went into depression. And of course, it led to low productivity. Many people were not coming to work. There was a total lockdown. And this resultant effect brought into limelight our lack of foresight. We were not prepared for COVID-19. We were not prepared for this kind of situation. Nothing was really on ground to pushing the effect. And this takes me to the first curve, which is the old paradigm, the old way of doing things, especially in our universities, especially the public universities. Large lecture rooms, large crowd, face-to-face teaching. You need to go to the office before you get things done. And of course, the second curve, which is the new paradigm, where we need to change our orientation, washing of hands, keeping our health and keeping safety measures, using face masks, social distancing, and e-learning, virtual meetings, and all whatnot. And I want to say, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that the way we work today should project how tomorrow will be with respect to our working tools. And we are still so conservative. We are still so conservative, we're not ready to change. And this leads me to rigidity of the system, where we should have embraced change. Many of us are still static. We are still where we are. We still believe in the old way of things. We hide under bureaucracy. We hide under due process. Oh, this is how I want to do my work. We want to remain as routine officers. Every step should be work in progress. And this means that we should be ready to change with times. And of course, it exposed the poor attitudes to work of members of staff. They disengage those people who don't want to work. Of course, immediately they pronounce lockdown, everybody stayed away. And this is about poor attitude to work, poor attitude to self, and poor attitude to others. Our poor and lackadaisical attitude was greatly exposed by the COVID-19. And of course, inequitable reward system, lack of incentives and motivation for those who are working hard over and above others. Like I used to say, everything is not about money. But for you to get people to buy into change, to contribute and add value to a system, there must be a bit of reward. There must be incentive and motivation. Promotions for non-teaching is just a general thing. Once you have done 3 years, once you have done 4 years, you are qualified for promotion. But will it continue like that? Will it be business as usual? Of course not. What about those who are putting extra efforts? How do you reward innovation and creativity? How do you reward those who add to the system, who go the extra mile? And what qualifies you? What values have you had to the system that qualifies you for a reward? Because I must let you know, promotion is a reward system too. And of course, inadequate funding. That's where we hide, especially for the public universities. We say, oh, there's no money. Oh, the governments are not funding us. We are being underfunded. Yes, we need a lot of money. We need a lot of funds to access ICT. It's a big challenge, but COVID-19 is drawing our attention to the fact that we must not remain the same. And this leads me to inadequate skilled manpower, unproductive employees, and the disengaged, those that are not ready to do anything. They are not ready to add value to the system. They are not ready to add value to themselves. Many people don't have relevant skills to remain relevant in the scheme of things. And then we, the system, will promote people beyond their capabilities. Once it's done 3 years, you say, okay, you can go to the next level. Oh yes, superiors will write a good appraisal of staff because they don't want to say that, oh, I'm the one delaying his or her promotion. But it will not be business as usual anymore. Of course, lack of modern ICT tools, which goes hand in hand with epileptic power supply and unstable internet connectivity. These are the necessary infrastructures that will enable ICT, which is the way to go. I'll still talk about that. And it's a major challenge in our institution. Most of our offices don't have the necessary tools. I'm watching time, sir.
Okay.
Therefore, registry is at a crossroad. And we need to identify the winning strategies for us to redefine our purpose in the university system. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in winning, the registry has to react to the shock by being agile and alert, identifying the problems. At the moment you identify the problems, your problem is much has been solved. You need to begin to address the stakeholders' needs. Who are the stakeholders? The government, the proprietors of different universities, the staff, the students, the alumni, the parents. And what do we need to do? Number one is to be responsive. Responsive is absolutely critical at this time. Responsiveness to the change. We must survive this situation. The way we respond now will help us for other future challenges. And how are we going to do this adaptability? Fitting into the situation to survive. We must attune ourselves to this reality and begin to adjust ourselves. The era of building to survive or building to last is gone. The era of building to adapt is where we are now. And of course, effective communication, we must keep talking about it. Keep talking about it. Several webinars, several workshops have been ongoing. You must keep everybody informed. You must carry everybody along with you. And of course, being relevant. As registry, how do we want to remain relevant in the scheme of things? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are celebrating an administrator for excellence today. That is bringing the past into the present to address our future. That is what we are doing by this webinar this afternoon. Of course, how do we remain relevant? The first thing is to be creative and innovative. We must continually innovate, bringing in effective changes, thinking out of the box, thinking differently. Now we can no longer do, because of the social distancing, our matriculation ceremonies, our convocation ceremonies, we must think how to do it. Many universities are thinking of e-matriculation. Many meetings now are being done virtually. This is thinking differently. And of course, professionalism, which is the smarter way of doing things now. Building competencies, competitive advantage, you can see through this presentation. Others are still pushing the box, but somebody has gone ahead to think differently and is rolling it, because that is the way to go. You should leave the level of ETC. What is ETC? End of thinking capacity. You must be professional in the way you discharge your duties as a member of the registry. And then, digital transformation. ICT, though capital intensive, is the way to go. We have been hearing it, they have been telling us that the fourth industrial revolution is here with us now. We must all embrace digital technology. That is why we are here now. Many people are in Akure, some are in Ekiti, some are in Ibadan. Even in Ibadan, everybody is somewhere else, but we are all together now, doing a focus. This is where ICT is taking us to. Online tools for our teaching, for our servicing, optimizing administrative processes. The use of ICT is what will keep us in business, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Another thing is teamwork. Together, everybody will achieve more. Carry everybody along. We must focus on the goal. Transforming the system is the responsibility of everybody. And your team must be knowledgeable about administrative protocols. Of course, you must upskill yourself. We keep saying it, you cannot remain static. There must be aggressive capacity building now. You must change, because if you don't change, change will change you. That is what we are being told. And you must be outstanding. Of course, resilience. Resilience to survive. You must be determined that you must survive this situation. And in being resilient, you must change your orientation now. You must change your attitude, because attitude is everything. You must reset your mind to be in tandem with the current reality. And of course, resourcefulness. What is resourcefulness? Resourcefulness is the quick adoption of new working practices during any challenge, doing more with little, removing barriers to actions. You cannot be giving excuses now. As a member of the registry, you must be resourceful, finding ways to solve problems. And this leads to job redesign. Our jobs must be redesigned. Our ability to jump the curve, paradigm jumping, shifting from traditional models of doing things without necessarily jeopardizing our culture of excellence, restructuring our jobs, meeting the specific needs. Going e-voting, online registration, e-matriculation, and all what's not. And of course, focusing on organizing a safe work environment, investing heavily in safety measures, implementing flexible time remote working system. We have been doing that. Many of us take work home, so it is not a new thing. It is just that it is a reality now. And of course, collaboration, collaborating with other clients, sharing ideas. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, because my time is fast spent, in conclusion, we must begin to focus on innovation, keep discovering new things, new ways of doing things. We must take measure of risk. Life is all about taking risk. Flexible workplace policy. Leave rigidity alone, leave bureaucracy alone. Learn to adapt to the change. And of course, thinking of the big picture. Where do we want to be? Are we at par with the global world? And of course, possibility that a can-do attitude, that we can do it. And create a registry that has an entirely different mindset, a registry that is resourceful, a registry that is purposeful, a registry that is skilled, efficient, a registry that is innovative and effective. That is the registry that we should create now to address the changing environment in which we are now. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, meeting the challenges with a proactive approach and a positive mindset strategy is definitely the winning way to go for the registry. I thank you for this opportunity, and I thank you for listening, and I wish Baba happy birthday once again. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, my Registrar, University of Ibadan, for that wonderful presentation. Mrs. Faluyi has reviewed the pandemic, the shock that we had, and the fact that it has led us to what is now described as the new normal. We cannot continue to operate under the old normal. There is a need for us to flow along the path to which the wave is taking us. We need to, in the registry of our various institutions, there's a need for us now to recognize that the way to go is for us to embrace digital pedagogy. The way to go is for us to embrace electronic record management system. The way to go is for us to embrace virtual learning and even virtual meetings, just as we do today. If we cannot gather again the way we used to gather, the world cannot talk. All universities abroad, they are functioning. Many universities today in Nigeria are also functioning. In fact, some have been able to write examination. What do we do? Public institutions in Nigeria need to brace up to be able to continue and to be able to continue to function. COVID-19 has brought about opportunities for us to interact with people who are very far away. It's an opportunity even for university to recruit personnel from abroad. They don't need to come to our university. Somebody from Dublin, from New Zealand, somebody from Oklahoma can be teaching in Ibadan, can be teaching in Akure, can be teaching in ABU without necessarily having to come. Those are the things they now call the new normal. So it behoves on us, particularly those who have the responsibility to manage institutions, whether as registrar, deputy registrar, or whatever, Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor to now know that the new normal is the way to go. Many of our websites are not interactive. People don't really know that some of our institutions are existing. There is a need for us to go to the drawing board and begin to do the normal, and God will help us. As I hand over to the chairman, I just want to take his permission whether we can take the second paper and we have a question and answer together. So, Mr. Chairman, sir.
Yes, sir. I think it's better we take the two papers and then after entertain questions from participants. I think it's better that way, so that we can at least so people can just be noting their questions. So when we get to the question and answer session, then we write there.
So the Vice Chancellor has approved that guillotine question and answer now. Take the second paper, then we have a question and answer after the second paper. Is that approved? Approved. 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 So, Mr. Akindele, can you be very fast with the introduction of Professor Daramola? Professor Daramola is an international personality. Anybody who doesn't know him, we need to, that person is not likely part of us. So can you introduce our next speaker briefly so that Prof can come on board? But before you do that, let me just recognize Mr. Femi Kayode. I think I've done that. Mr. Ituma, Moses Ituma, Crawford University Registrar, Kayinde Ekanem, Registrar Federal Polytechnic ADO-EKITI, Felix Adetuda, former Registrar Federal Polytechnic Oduji, my friend Dotun Awoyemi, former Registrar of Moro University. God bless you. So, Mr. Akindele.
Thank you so much, sir. An abridged profile of Professor Biyi Daramola. Professor Biyi Gregory Daramola is a fellow of the Nigerian Association of Agricultural Economists and the immediate past Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, FUTA. Professor Daramola was born on 2nd March 1958 and bagged his PhD degree in agricultural economics in 1987 at the University of Ibadan. He rose to the rank of a professor on 1st October 1999. His area of specialization is development economics and agricultural policy. Professor Daramola is an international scholar of no mean repute. He's a member of several international professional bodies. He was the chief editor and chairman of editorial board of African Journal of Agriculture and Resource Economics, Pretoria, South Africa, between 2010 and 2013. As far back as the 1990s, and then as a zonal extension officer, I knew Professor Daramola as the then World Bank sponsored Ondo State Agricultural Development Project, where he served as a consultant on the on-farm adaptive research offer in the Southwest. Besides the World Bank, he is a consultant to Ford Foundation, USAID, PFIG, African Development Bank, Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria, CRIN, and Community Development Foundation, Lagos, among others. Professor Daramola has won many scholarships, grants, and awards from reputable institutions and professional bodies across the globe, and published several scholarly articles in onshore and offshore journals. Professor Daramola was the Vice Chancellor of FUTA in May 2012 to 2017. He was also the chairman, Committee of Vice Chancellor of Nigerian University, CVC, and concurrently chairman, Association of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities, AVCNU, between 2015 and 2017. Professor Daramola is a resourceful, visionary, and dynamic manager of men and resources. Professor Daramola is a devout Christian, is happily married and blessed with children. It's my pleasure to present to you our next speaker, Professor Biyi Gregory Daramola, to address this August Assembly on the requirements of the 21st century university in Nigeria. Thank you. Professor Daramola.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akindele, for that beautiful introduction. I want to congratulate our dear Baba, Chief Johnson ADEGBITE, on attaining the golden age of an octogenarian. Congratulations, Baba. May you live to witness many more years on this side of the divide. I want to thank the organizer of this occasion, my dear brother, Dr. Omojola Woshusi, for giving me this opportunity to address the academic community on a topic that is very close to my heart, the requirement of a 21st century university in Nigeria. It gave me the latitude to choose the topic, which is of interest to me. Before I continue, I also want to greet our chairman of the occasion, the current Vice Chancellor of the ADO-EKITI State University, my own dear brother, Professor Edward Olanikwekun. I'm very proud of him. Let me start by saying that in our university system in Nigeria, education is supposed to play a very significant role in nation building. To the extent to which this has happened in Nigeria, well, it leaves much to be desired, especially in the area of research for development, problem solving, and responding to the yearnings of the society. In terms of capacity building, we have done very well in producing so many graduates. But what these graduates are also doing in the system is another topic for discussion of another lecture altogether. But what is important is that with the exit of the colonial masters, we've been able to raise a crop of skilled manpower to man the administration of the country. But our engineers have not really been up to speed in terms of providing solutions to our problems as a nation. The mandate of the university can be clearly stated to be three. Number one, is supposed to serve as an engine of economic growth. It's supposed to propel the economic growth of any society. It's supposed to generate new knowledge in addition to what exists. It's supposed to educate our young people as well as solve the problems of the society. To the extent that we still have challenge with electricity, to the extent that we still have challenge with some of the technology being used on our farms, I will say that we have not done so well in terms of fulfilling the mandate for which university education has been established in this country. And this blame cannot be put entirely on the university system, because to a great extent, the university has suffered a lot from what happens in the external community. What I mean, I'm talking of the Nigerian nation now. We've had a lot of a military rule. We've had the civil war. We've had so many distortions in the educational policy of this country, which unfortunately have impacted negatively on the university system. One of the greatest problems we have in the university system, now talking from experience, is the governance structure as well as the leadership. We have challenges of the governance structure because you have some councils, government councils, which are populated by politicians. And in majority of cases, some of these politicians
It appears that Prof is out of network.
Oh, okay. I'm not out of network. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Can you hear me better now?
Okay.
So I was saying that the education system in this country has really not measured up to standard because of the challenges we've had. And some of the challenges can be attributed to inadequate funding. Some can be attributed to infrastructure, debt of infrastructure. Some can be attributed to the technology that we are still operating on. Now, the second part of this introduction has to do with the coronavirus pandemic. The coronavirus pandemic came in at a time where the university system is, in fact, gasping for breath.
Yes.
So the coronavirus now came to do a further damage on the system. And when I'm talking of the university system now, I want to focus more on the public system, the state universities and the federal universities. For the private universities, they have a different set of challenges, in addition to the general problems facing the university. Now, let me touch on the effect on the economy. The coronavirus led to what I can call a standstill in the Nigerian economy. And that standstill also came with attendant drop in demand for fossil fuel, which is what is the source of Nigeria's economy. The life wire of Nigerian economy is the fossil fuel. And the prices went as low as $10. In fact, $4 in some countries. So we had a problem of our budget falling below our budget projections. So we have challenge of money. On one hand, we had the challenge of productivity being near zero because of the lockdown. So we have this effect on the economy. We also had the COVID-19 coming in at a time when ASU was on strike. There was a subsistence strike, and COVID-19 came to add to that. That's additional effect. Now, by the time you had the economy grasping for bread, for life, and we had the election effect on the university system, the combination of these two, coupled with the fact that many of our university system don't even have a robust ICT. So we didn't have, some of the departments don't have blended learning facilities. They were only engaging in face-to-face. And when you have a situation whereby your system is dependent on face-to-face and you have a shutdown, that means you got to pause everything until you resume academics. And some of these ICT, they are not things you can fix in a hurry. So because if hardwares are involved and software are involved. And some of the lecturers too are not even accustomed to doing anything online in terms of interacting with their students. So we had some institutions not being ICT compliant in terms of delivery. They are not into e-learning at all, and they are not doing anything online before the COVID-19. I mean, this paints the picture of many of the institutions. Well, many of the Nigerian universities, to the best of my knowledge, have been struggling with digitization of some of their operations, like students' registration, like exams and records, like library management system, digitization using virtual library. Some of them don't have it, some have, and you just discover that it's a curve. Some universities are up there and some are just down there without being paid for advert. Take a university like Covenant University. They had seamless transition when there was challenge with this COVID. But many other universities, both private and public, were just caught napping and they couldn't respond to it. So these other universities that were caught napping cannot be regarded as 21st century universities. They are still operating in the analog mode. Now, lessons from developed countries. I discovered that many of the universities, especially in the United States of America and Europe, just continued as if there was no problem. Yeah. They still respected their calendars. They just made sure that what they were doing face-to-face, they shifted it to the digital mode. And they continued. They had submitted assignments. They had their continuous assessment. They had their examinations as I went due. And you describe that is the new normal that we're talking about. So Nigeria needs to learn a lot from this new normal and from this COVID thing, use it as an opportunity to reset the entire university system in Nigeria. And of course, this is like what I can call a fast track to becoming modernized for the university system. In this problem, we should turn it around and take advantage of technology to fast track our becoming a 21st century university. And in doing this, we need to just go to the foundation. Let's start with the statute and the laws establishing these universities. For me, it will ordinarily be a good thing if in having the governing councils of universities, more knowledgeable people about the university system are made to chair the councils. I'm talking from experience. About the best council we've ever had in FUTA was the one that was chaired by Daramola, the late former vice chancellor of the Lagos State University. When that council was in place, she was quite at home with the antics of the unions. She was at home with all the antics of, and that includes us anyway, all the normal intrigues and games. The woman understood everything, and she was able to operate at a higher level, and she was able to put the university on an auto cruise. Unlike when you bring a professional politician who does a lot of give and take, and this can affect the universities negatively. And these are some of the reasons why our calendar is not stable. Then you also need to have a vision and mission for each university that is modernized and futuristic in nature. A university without the proper vision and without a mission cannot be a modern university. And that leads me to the next one, which is the strategic plan. Every decent university that is going to be a 21st century university needs to have a strategic plan that details out the goals, the milestones, the activities, as well as the resources to achieve whatever they plan to achieve. Many of the universities in Nigeria don't have decent strategic plan. And where they have, you find successive vice chancellors jettisoning the strategic plans and pursuing some other things. And this is not the way to go. Strategic plan should be like a given for any vice chancellor that is coming into office. It's either you are doing one in your tenure, because most strategic plans are for 5 years. You are doing one, or you can also inherit one, maybe 2 years to the end of your tenure or something for the next incoming vice chancellor. Now, to the governance. Now, just as I said earlier on, we have serious challenge with the governance of our universities. And instead of being a solution, some of them are part of the problems. Because when you have a governing council where the members are also listening or cooperating with the various unions to destabilize the system, simply because they don't like the vice chancellor for whatever reason. This does not go well for our university system. The second level of governance we need to talk about here is the principal officers. If our vice chancellor is the major driver and is the link between the council as well as the management team, ably supported by the deputy vice chancellors, by the boss, by the registrar, by the university librarian, and the bursar. These principal officers are supposed to be alive to their responsibilities. The moment the principal officers are not operating in unison, then that university cannot make the required progress. And what happens most times is that you find some principal officers who are in office before the vice chancellor comes in. And in the process, they have what is called, I want to look for a very good term to describe this, because I'm not saying this to I have to be careful the way I put this. I want to say that the vice chancellor and the principal officer must always be on the same page in the interest of the university. Was the moment they start working across purposes or they start forming cliques within the principal officers, is going to negatively affect the university, and it's not going to help the university to achieve its set objectives. The next level of principal officers I'm going to discuss about is the management team. This management team consists of the heads of departments, the deans, the heads of departments, and the directors. The deans are more or less coordinators of heads of departments. It's the head of departments that are actually the direct managers, the teaching staff, teaching and non-teaching staffs at the departmental level. And a lot depends on them in terms of achieving the vision and mission of a university, because they are the first line level of managers within any university system, HODs and directors. Because of limited time, I won't be able to go into much details on that. The staff, one thing that I believe any 21st century university needs to do is to make sure that the vision, mission, and the core values of the university percolate down the ladder, right from council members to the students and staff of any university. Everybody must be aware of what the core values of that university is. And in doing that, a lot of advocacy is required. A lot of what I can call participatory approach in developing the strategic plan should also come to play. Then there are a number of stakeholders that are very, very critical to a modern university. This includes the alumni, the host communities, the parents and guardians, as well as the religious leaders, because these are people who should also be carried along in developing a university, a modern university. The membership of faculty is so critical because in this 21st century, you cannot have an analog faculty member and expect him to operate in the digital environment. Therefore, it is important to make sure that and this starts with ordinary email. Most people find it difficult to use their university email address. They want to either do Gmail or Yahoo or whatever. So it is important for many of us to actually ensure that it is the university email address, and it has a way of helping the webometric ranking of the university as well. The curriculum and content. Many of our course contents and curricula are obsolete, and they are not alive to the 21st century. We need to work on that to make sure that some of our, because knowledge is dynamic. If I left the university about 40 years ago, and what I was taught then is what I teach students now, I'm not preparing them for the 21st century. I'm training them for the 20th century, and they can never compete in the marketplace. So it's important for our content to reflect contemporary issues as well as address problems, solutions. Then the delivery mode. This is where COVID-19 has really shown us that we are not up to speed at all. And the Registrar of the University of Ibadan has done good justice to that. How we need to deliver lectures now, virtually and online. Of course, I remember that my good friend at Junior Oshun, Labode Popola, had a matriculation online, and I congratulated him. That day when I watched it on telly, I said, well, man, you are doing well. Because this is what's happening elsewhere. Graduations have been done in the United States of America online. Exams have been written, everything is going, and that's the new normal. The sooner other universities start adopting the Union model in terms of matriculation, convocation, and other activities, even inaugural lectures can be delivered online. So we are now be adjusting to the new normal. So that is also very important. In terms of our infrastructure, yes, we have big challenge with power. We need to think out of the box on how to solve some of these challenges. We can do solar. We can do solar. We can do wind. We can do even hydro. So there are so many options that are available to us in this part of the world that can make us bring our infrastructure up to speed. The same thing with roads. The same thing with ICT. ICT is expensive, but I will come to covering the cost of some of this infrastructure later in this lecture, which is going to be soon. Water, common water in laboratories. We need to ensure that our infrastructure works. Telecommunication, intercom, that saves us a lot. Then the issue of the big data. We need to be able to interact with the cloud, especially our library, our retrievers, our archival and retrieval system, our registry, everything. We need to save our information in the cloud so that the issue of computer crashing, memory crashing, everything will not affect us. Once we have saved everything in the cloud, it's saved in the cloud. We can retrieve it at any time. Then digitization of registry operations. Mrs. Faluyi has spoken extensively on that. I won't want to repeat some of the things she has told us. Then the digital library. You need to, many of our universities are already moving in that direction, and we are not having much problem with that. Computerization of bursary operations. This is going to reduce fraud. Thank God for TSA. Thank God for so many things that are happening, that a single account. These ones give minimum opportunity for anybody to tinker with the funds of the university. So this is good. Then our computer resource centers are the managers of our websites. They need to be skilled, highly skilled in terms of managing the We need a good webmaster. We need to make the website dynamic, because it has to be changing and responding to changes on almost on per hour basis. Then we have another set of requirements, which I call the third set of requirements. The mode of teaching under the new normal is such that we don't need to be handing out teachers handing down information and knowledge to the students, and the students throwing back the same information and knowledge back to the lecturers. This is not the way to go in the present as well as in the future. We need to overhaul our courses and their contents in such a way that a lot of emphasis need to be given to creativity and innovation. The current trend in the world today is that students need to be creative and to be innovative, not to cram. Everything you require in terms of knowledge is available on the internet through the Google. You can Google and get any information you need. The lecturer is not supposed to help Google to teach. No, the lecturer is supposed to open the students' brains to be able to do stuff on their own. So, and that's why many of our graduates cannot find employment, because number one, they are not problem solvers. We need to produce problem solvers as graduates, and they are supposed to look at the society and pick a problem and provide the solution to it. And through that, they become entrepreneurial. Through that, they can make money. Through that, they can give back to the university system, to their alma mater. So it's important to train our graduates to be entrepreneurial rather than to be people who will cram stuff and give it back to us during examination. In the registry, there is need to professionalize our administration. Our administrators in the registry need to become more professional in the way to do their job. We need to move away from consumption of a lot of paper to paperless administration. Everybody needs to be able to access memos, reports, everything on the computer. Everybody needs to be ICT compliant. Everybody needs to, even ordinary phone can serve as a computer if you know how to use it properly. Many of us don't know how to access. There is Word on this on the phone. There is even PowerPoint on the phone. So all these apps are available on the phone. You can even store some of your stuff on the cloud from your phone. You can store some files on the phone, so that when you lose your phone, you just get a new phone, and all those information will come back to your phone. So we need to reduce bureaucracy, because there is too much bureaucracy in the system. Let me give you my experience. I work for some international organizations, and when they want to when I'm applying for my payment, I do it from my study in my house. Even the entire work, I did it from my study. They approve payment from my study. I sent in all the receipts from my study. They approve payment, I got alert in my study, or everything on my phone. Many times I have challenges with the modems. So what I use is I just finish the work on my laptop, attach it to my phone, store it on my phone, and from my phone it goes to the email as an attachment. So these are the kind of things everybody needs to understand. And then the last aspect I want to talk about here is the Internet of Things. The way things are going now, we are not going to be doing things is what we call new normal or business unusual. It is business unusual now. Internet of Things is the development whereby most of the things we have, your driver's license, your voter's card, your international passport, everything will just be on one single card. And then that card is what you use to enter your office. Is that card that you use to unlock your car. They are sensor driven. Even mere facial recognition. Many of us now, we open our phones with our thumb. With your thumb, you will open doors of your car. With your thumb, and that is the Internet of Things. That's where we are now, and that's where we are going. Increasingly, you don't need to, we will not be requiring too many cards, ATM card, you have ATM card, you have driver's license card, you have voter's card. No, just a single card will do everything for you. And that is why everybody needs to be computer literate and ICT compliant. So what are the new realities in our university education? One, there is going to be less emphasis on face-to-face learning. It's going to be more interactive and less knowledge handout. Everything you need about knowledge is available on Google. So I don't need to go to a university if that is what I'm going there for. Everything is available on YouTube. How to do everything, even to prepare egusi and egusi soup or ogbono soup, everything is on YouTube. So you discover that there is hardly nothing you want that the computer will not give you. So what are the new realities now? We need to put more emphasis on creativity, innovation, and imagination. We need to just broaden the mind of our students. Train them, serve as facilitators to lead them onto the road of being creative and being imaginative in the way they pursue knowledge. Then, bricks and mortars are becoming less relevant in education now. Bricks and mortars, classrooms are no longer necessary. 1,000-seater lecture theater may not, because by the time you do physical distancing, that 1,000 lecture theater can only seat 400. And even our 1,000 lecture theaters are not enough to accommodate our students. So we are discovering that virtual and distance learning is gaining traction. I was at UNISA, University of South Africa. They had able to put the university. They had 800,000 students. A professional 800,000 students. That's almost more than the entire population of Nigeria or undergraduates. So, and this university in India, they have 1.5 million students. So many students also need to have the issue of access, vision, and mission for each university that is modernized and futuristic in nature. A university without the proper the important courses are becoming obsolete. Let me give you a good example. Medicine will soon become an unattractive course. To be a 21st century. Medicine will soon become an attractive course because IBM will do diagnosis for you and will recommend drugs for you. The milestones. Law will soon become obsolete too. People will not be taking laws again. Whatever. The most important courses now and the direction we are going is artificial intelligence, which is becoming increasingly relevant, and robotics. You find, especially in the area of robotics and engineering, they are the courses of the future that will move the country forward, and we need to focus on them. And this is the second set of realities that we need to educate students with tools to confront and solve societal problems. Societal problems, both of the present and the future. Knowledge without limits is boundaries between disciplines are collapsing at the fast rate. Or you can broad and general background maybe 2 years in the first 2 years allow students to think outside the box. Thereafter, students can become specialists within specific disciplines in a problem solving manner. Like now, I said earlier on, next one, we have serious challenge with the governance. We need to form new partnerships, and instead of being international, some of them are universities through MOUs and research grants. There is a lot of research grants outside the borders of Nigeria because we don't have a lot of emphasis on research grants here. But when you partner with universities in China, in the US, in Europe, they have to destabilize the system. Research funds because they don't like over there, and we can for whatever also contact them and make good money from them. Then exchange of students and faculty members is also another way of leveraging on these partnerships and getting our to be current and modern in our the link content. Commercialization of the related knowledge, intellectual properties, and patents are also areas where this partnership can help us. There is need for public-private partnership with the organized private sectors. They should refer their problems to the universities, and the university must show capacity to solve those problems. Then, many moments public-public partnership is also a possible way where governments at state cannot make or federal level will refer some of their problems. I remember when I was vice chancellor, FUTA was helping the Nigerian Air Force to maintain some of their aircrafts. Hitherto, they were getting expatriates to come from abroad to help them maintain their aircraft. But we set up a team that was doing that, and in the process for them. Now, a sourcing of both resources and services. I want to universities need to focus on their core business. To describe this, because research, I'm not saying and community service. So any other thing needs to be outsourced so that they can concentrate on their main mandate. So the end products that we are talking about have to be careful. It's going to be a reduction in cost of operation of universities under the new normal. The post-COVID era is going to be save the university a lot of money. Technically skilled and relevant graduates are going to be the moment they start working that we are going to get more cutting-edge research results and products in the because some money will be saved which can be diverted to research. And it's not higher contributions to economic growth by the university system. This is one of the results that I see. There is lower cost to students as they can stay back at home. This management team consists of so they don't need to the heads of department, the accommodation around the university where they pay a lot of money to be able to attend lectures. Then we increased access to university education because this process now will allow us the opportunity to expand the access to many people who otherwise would not have been able to gain admission to the university. Reduction of graduate unemployment because the graduates will become more entrepreneurs and they can achieve themselves. More imaginative and creative graduates, not just certificate holders within any university system. In terms of conclusion, COVID-19 has come to stay because of it's not showing any sign of living anytime soon. Into much details on that. The new normal mode of education delivery will also remain even when this pandemic goes away. We will not go back to the old ways of doing business. The drive to online and open access education has been quickened with this pandemic at a fast rate. Registry will reduce bureaucracy, become better disciplined, as lateness will become a non-issue under working from home mode that we've been having now. Cost of operation, both for the universities, for the staff, and for the students, will go down as a win-win of working from home. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my humble presentation, and I hope it's been opened. I've tried to open our eyes to the new ways in which we need to start thinking in this century. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Prof, for feeding us with knowledge this afternoon. I've been richly blessed and I've been thoroughly educated. We are sorry when Prof was speaking, we tried to do one or two things. There are people who couldn't enter into this Zoom, and we have extended to YouTube, and the link has been displayed. So if you have a friend who is out and couldn't come in, please, the link has been sent to all of them as long as they register for, and as Professor Daramola was, the link is people were hearing him loud and clear on YouTube, even those who are not here. So it's like Prof concluded, it was a win-win situation. And so shall it be until the end of this program. Just a recap of what Prof delivered. It is difficult for me to be reviewing what the professor has said. I just want to highlight. Prof reviewed the current situation as our situations have been affected by COVID-19. He looked at the effect on the economy, effect on education, and particularly university system. And he tried to compare the Nigerian situation with situation in Europe, North America, and some other developed countries. And he tried to also compare Nigeria with Nigeria. In which case, he said that there was a seamless transition. When COVID came and there was lockdown, school system did not, particularly university system did not shake in some of these locations because they already had the infrastructure. They just moved from face-to-face interaction to online teaching, assignments, and examination went on normally. I believe strongly that lockdown shouldn't have affected, even in Nigeria, the defense, the PhD defense, because as we are looking at ourselves now, nothing stops for somebody from the stay in Akure and defending a PhD in University of Lagos without having to move there. It shouldn't be impossible. Prof, compared what is happening in the private university system in Nigeria with what is happening in the public university. And he mentioned Covenant University, where I understand they are using Moodle to teach. And there is a university in Edo State, Edo University Iyamo, they are using Canvas. Mountain Top University is using Google Classroom. Incidentally, law school is performing better than the Nigerian university system. Law school is also a public institution. They have been teaching their 5,000 students in the last 5 months, and there was no shaking. So Prof tried to do the comparison and look at it. He went ahead to look at requirements of 21st century. He talked about governance, structure, strategic plan, and teaching and learning content. He also spoke about collegiality, management, dean, student union, staff union, and all of that. He in particularly mentioned that for our university to key into requirement of 21st century, the quality of people in council is very important. And he particularly recommended that whoever is going to be chairman of council should be somebody who is knowledgeable about what happens in the university. And he said that a 21st century university must be digitalized. Face-to-face learning, according to him, is obsolete. We need to move to digital. And the digital has to go around, not only in teaching, it must involve a library, digital library, and registry in particular must wake up and turn digital. And it talks about Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and they said brick and mortar is now old-fashioned. According to him, there are universities in the world now that have over 1 million students, and in fact, a particular course could have as many as 100, 200,000 students, and none of the students would have to come to the university premises. So even when they are saying what we are saying, VC must go or what, it doesn't affect those students because and in fact, the teachers may not even be resident in your university. So that is the way to go, and we call it a massive open online courses. He talked about employability of Nigerian students, that what lecturers are teaching today, including himself, is that they are 20th century ideas, which when the student capture this, it will not make them marketable in the industry, where the industry is a market, is a 21st century compliant. Anybody who's going to work for Jumia, Amazing, and all of that cannot be, if the only knowledge is the note that your lecturer copied 20 years ago and is reading, that will not work. And he's even prophesying that some professional courses like medicine law may no longer have the attention in the future because robots now can diagnose, and even you are aware now that there is a way of doing temperature now by thermometer that will not touch your body, and so it is that it can diagnose what is inside of us. Finally, Prof recommended that Nigerian universities they need to reset. Maybe he wanted to say they should reboot or reformat. And that means we have to do away with so many things. And we must focus on the mandate of teaching and learning, teaching, research, teaching, and community services. The Vice Chancellor are struggling with many things that shouldn't be of concern to university: security, cleaning services, maintenance of loans, buying of this, all of those things are distracting our managers. And his recommendation is that If we go online, we may not need a small generator might be enough because we are not putting people in classroom. And don't forget, people will be, the university will not be poor. Our universities are poor today because we are not leveraging on the population. We are 200 million Nigerians. What's stopping from having 2.5 million students, and ABU having 3 million students? All of them, they live in their homes and in their offices, and they pay good money. Pandemic, according to him, the COVID-19 pandemic is an opportunity for us to move forward. But the danger in it is that it cannot be music as it was. It cannot be business as usual, because there are tools now, there are software to manage when you come to work. If they say work from home, as you click on your computer, the computer records the time. If you are not doing university job, if you are watching film, the computer will record what you are doing, and the managers can easily take note. So that is the way to go. I'm surprised how university will survive now, having to be paying salary in the last 5 months or so. The feeding bottle universities, they are luckier. Feeding bottle university, they are luckier because money will come from the center in Abuja, whether they do or they don't. But those in the state universities, I will call them teaspoon universities, because if they put feeding bottle in your mouth, you take so much. But if it is teaspoon, but private universities, there is no spoon at all. And if they can move forward, the rest of us should be able to move forward. I want to thank Prof for this wonderful educative lecture he has given us this afternoon. I'd like to hand over to the chairman, but with his permission, we have collated some questions here. There are so many, but we'll be able to try as much as possible. We are going to, there are 2 principal questions that we have here. I received a question from somebody in London who wanted to know that why is it that university administrators cannot advise the federal government? I hope my chairman is listening. Why is it that university administrators cannot advise the federal government against the evil of IPPS? Because it's like a kind of distraction. And Mr. Chairman, sir, if today Ekiti University has to appoint a Ghanaian to help us handle a particular course, staying in Ghana and doing online, can that person be paid through IPPS? Or we have an American who is going to teach American literature for us? So how do we? So in the new normal, how will IPPS help us? Another question, sir. If we change to virtual working system as administrators, will that not affect the mentorship aspect of our calling? Rather than moving with the world trends of new normal, can Nigerian administrators, given our peculiarities in high cost of internet, electricity as well as technology, work out a way to combine the old paper way of doing things with the virtual way till we are at par with the rest of the world? Another question, sir. Mr. Chairman, if we think COVID-19 will stay with us while we shift to virtual teaching and learning, will it not affect the character aspect of teaching as we have the one-to-one teaching method? If my pandemic didn't last long and we have gone virtual, will it not lead to reversing to our old way of teaching and learning? Should we not toe the line of using technology to enhance what we have now until we are technology viable in Nigeria? I think only a professor can understand that question. I'm confused myself. So, Mr. Chairman, sir, I want to hand over to you. Those are the questions I have. And incidentally, I couldn't get the names of those who asked the questions. So, Mr. Chairman, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know how to describe you, Dr. Who is the weather. I think you are the organizer, you are the moderator, and you are everything. We are very proud of you as a university to have produced you as one of the best registrars that university never had. And you have never disappointed us one day. I'm going to invite our two speakers. First, Mrs. Faluyi, to make our own comments with regards to the questions, and then later Professor Biyi, Daramola, very briefly. Then before I also add my own view with regards to the questions. Mrs. Faluyi first.
Thank you, sir. For some of the questions, unfortunately, I didn't get some, but what I know is that some has to do with the infrastructure.
Yes.
Saying that for us to go digital, for us to be ICT compliance, we also have problems with the enabling environment. As we have said that...
And the question is displayed on the screen. Please can you display the question on the screen?
Well, I have a little difficulty with that. I can restate the questions. There is a particular question on if we all change to virtual working system. As administrator, will that not affect mentorship aspect of our calling? The way Chief ADEGBITE imparted on us. If we don't meet ADEGBITE now physically, it is just online. The way professors who supervise PhD students interact with them on daily basis and give them dedicate assignments to them, and they rub minds here and there. With that not, with virtual learning, not affect mentorship. So the other one is that can't we continue to do what we are doing now until we have good internet, power, and all of that, so that we remain where we are now, so that we just tell the whole world that we are coming behind. So, so maybe we do maybe advertisement on television that the world to wait for us because we are falling. So I think that should be the summary of the question they're asking us.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. In fact, from the way you have analyzed the question, you have virtually answered it, that we will be left behind. If we say that we want to continue to do it the way, because we have challenges, then we will never be at par with the world. So the answer to that question is that we must continue to change. We must accept that change and work within the ambit of whatever resources is available to us until we are able to get to that level where we ought to be. Else, the world will put us aside. So that has answered that question, that we cannot remain complacent and say that because some challenges are there, we will not move with the world. So in the face of the dwindling resources, in the face of lack of the infrastructures and utilities to work with, we still have to make something out of it. And especially as university administrators, we are expected to think out of the box and use what we have to get what we want. Thank you very much on that. And also talking about mentoring, I will talk on, there's still an interactive way of to it. The virtual way of teaching or virtual way of having meetings does not mean that you are not interacting. You are still interacting, and the level at which we mentor to is at that level. You ask your questions, you don't have to see the person physically before you give advice or you give counsel. So it does not stop mentoring and it does not stop mentorship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Prof.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Please, Prof, let me add a question so that you can take it together, sir.
Okay.
Now, in ADO-EKITI, where I live, government has asked the churches to make preparation for resumption of church services. My church in particular, we have made provision for our people who wash their hands and all of that. Now, what are the, I believe private universities have also done that. What are the public universities doing to be able to say, suppose they say that it's going to be open next month or next week, what are they putting in place in terms of the digital and in terms of health of their staff so that we can key into it? If we cannot even solve the digital, how can we make sure that our staff are safe? So please, Prof, maybe you can add that to that. Because
thank you very much.
I'm not in my yet, but I don't see that happening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. That last question should be directed at the chairman because he is the current man in the seat. I'm no longer a vice chancellor. I'm no longer a vice chancellor. So I don't need to bother my head about that. I leave that for the chairman to address. But now to the other questions, because I took some notes when you were reading out the questions. I want to say that I don't think the new normal way of doing things is going to affect mentorship at all, because don't forget that we have video apps like WhatsApp. Okay, if there is an admin officer too that is fresh in the system and is put under a principal assistant registrar, I don't think that mentorship is going to be affected, because nothing stops the two of them from meeting. It's not that people cannot meet face to face. There's no rule that says that. All the rule says is that gathering now should involve physical distancing. So I don't think a subordinate will still not have the opportunity of